Number 18, we need to solve by completing the square. So remember, completing the square, our first step is to find the b value, because we need to take b divided by 2 squared, and we need to add it to both sides of our equation. So b is 18. So 18 divided by 2, b divided by 2 squared. 18 divided by 2 is going to give us 9. Squared is 81. So I need to add 81 to both sides of my equation. So we will have now x squared plus 18x plus 81 plus the 2 equals 0 plus 81. I like to go ahead and move the 2 to the other side so that I have just what I want to complete the square of on my left-hand side. So x squared plus 18x plus 81 will equal 79. When I complete the square here, I realize that 9 times 9 multiplies to 81, and 9 plus 9 gives me 18. So when I factor it off, x squared plus 9x plus 9x plus 81 equals 79. My first two terms, I have an x in common. My next two terms, I have a 9 in common. So I'll have x and x plus 9. And out of the next two terms, 9x divided by 9 is x, and 81 divided by 9 is 9, equals 79. Then I'm going to have the two factors of x plus 9 and x plus 9, but this is going to equal 79, not 0. So then I'm going to have x plus 9 squared equals 79. So I completed the square. Now I'm going to go up here to this side of my writing space, and I'm going to go ahead and solve. So we have x plus 9 squared equals 79. The opposite of a square is taking the square root. So the square root will cancel out the square. So now I have x plus 9 equals plus or minus the square root of 79. I need to subtract 9 on each side. So I will have an answer of x equals -9 plus or minus the square root of 79. The square root of 79 does not simplify, so this will be our final answer. For number 19, I like to make sure that I have it written in standard form. So I'm going to move the 2x squared and the 20x to the left-hand side. So I'm going to subtract 2x squared and subtract 2x squared. Doing so will leave me with x squared minus 7 equals 20x. Now I'm going to subtract my 20x to the other side. And now I'm going to have x squared minus 20x minus 7 equals 0. Now I can begin completing the square. Remember, I need my b value, which is -20. We need b divided by 2 squared. So that's going to be -20 divided by 2 squared. -20 divided by 2 is -10. Squaring -10 is a positive 100. So we're going to need to add that positive 100 to both sides of our equation. Now I like to go ahead and move my 7 to the other side. And I will have x squared minus 20x plus 100 equals 107. Like before, we're going to go ahead and factor it. Now we have a positive 100 but a negative 20. So I'm going to need negative 10 times negative 10, which gives me a positive 100, and negative 10 plus negative 10 gives me a negative 20. So as I work to factor this out, I get x squared minus 10x minus 10x plus 100 equals 107. First two terms have an x in common, so I can pull out an x and I get x minus 10. My next two terms have a negative 10 in common, so I'm going to get x minus 10 equals 107. So I have x minus 10 and x minus 10 equals 107. Since I have both the parentheses written down twice, that's x minus 10 squared equals 107. I completed the square. Now I need to solve x minus 10 squared equals 107. The opposite of a square is taking the square root. So now I'll have x minus 10 equals plus or minus the square root of 107. I need to add 10 to each side so that I can isolate the x and get it by itself. So x is going to equal 10 plus or minus the square root of 107. And that will be your final answer.